A billionaire walked into the rain with nothing, no money, no name, no protection. What he didn't expect was that the poorest woman he'd ever meet would give him the most expensive gift of his life. This is a story about a test, but by the end of one cold, rainy night, no one could agree on who was testing whom. Marcus Chen stood outside the glass walls of his penthouse office, looking down at the city below. 43 floors up, the people looked like ants, cars like toys. He'd built an empire. Tech companies, real estate, investments that stretched across continents. Forbes had just listed his net worth at $4.2 billion, but Marcus couldn't remember the last time he'd felt anything real. His assistant had resigned that morning, the seventh one in 2 years. On her way out, she'd said something that stayed with him. "You've forgotten what it's like to be human, Mr. Chen. You see numbers, not people." He'd laughed it off at first, but the words echoed through the empty penthouse that night. The next morning, Marcus made a decision that his board of directors would have called insane. He left his wallet, his watch, his phone, everything that marked him as Marcus Chen, locked in a safe. He put on clothes he'd bought from a thrift store. Worn jeans, a jacket with a broken zipper, shoes that had seen better days. He wanted to see the world as it really was, to understand the people he'd spent decades looking down upon, literally and figuratively. By evening, Marcus found himself in a neighborhood he'd only ever driven through with locked doors, the kind of place his driver avoided. Small houses with peeling paint, chain-link fences, cars that looked like they barely ran. It had started to rain. Not a gentle rain, but the kind that soaked through clothes in seconds. Marcus walked with no destination in mind, just observing, watching. He saw people hurrying home from bus stops, mothers calling children inside, lights turning on in windows that glowed warm against the gray evening. He hadn't eaten since morning. His stomach reminded him with a painful twist. In his old life, he would have simply walked into any restaurant and ordered whatever he wanted. Now, with empty pockets, he realized something he'd never truly understood before. Hunger doesn't care who you are. He approached a small convenience store. The owner looked him up and down with suspicion. "You buying something or just looking for a place to get dry?" Marcus swallowed his pride. "I don't have any money. I was just hoping." "Then keep moving." The rejection stung more than he expected. He'd been dismissed, made invisible in under 5 seconds. The rain grew heavier. Marcus pulled his thin jacket tighter, but it did nothing against the cold. He found himself on a quiet street. Modest houses lined up like tired soldiers. Through one window, he could see a woman moving around a small kitchen. A child sat at a table coloring. His feet had brought him to a stop without him realizing it. He stood there shivering, watching that warm scene like it was a painting in a museum he could never enter. The front door opened. A woman stepped onto the small porch. She was maybe 35, wearing jeans and an oversized sweater. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked tired. The kind of tired that lives in your bones. "Are you okay?" she called out. Marcus hadn't expected to be seen. "I'm fine. Sorry, I'll move along." She descended the 3 steps from her porch, not bothering with an umbrella. The rain soaked into her sweater immediately. "You don't look fine. You're soaked through." "Really, I'm okay." But his voice cracked. His body betrayed him with a violent shiver. The woman studied him for a moment. Marcus could see her hesitation. A stranger, a man on her doorstep in the rain. He saw her glance back at her house where her child waited. Saw her calculating the risk. "When did you last eat?" she asked quietly. Marcus considered lying. "This morning." She made a decision. He could see it happen in her eyes, a small resignation. A choice made despite every rational reason not to make it. "Come inside. Just for a bit. Get warm, get some food. You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I'm asking you to, please." There was something in her voice that made refusing impossible. The house was small, clean but worn, furniture that had been repaired multiple times, a living room that doubled as a play area, toys stacked in careful containers. Everything had its place because there wasn't room for chaos. "I'm Sarah," the woman said, grabbing a towel from a closet. "This is my daughter, Emma." The girl at the table looked up. She was maybe 7 with curious eyes and a gap-toothed smile. "Hi, you're really wet." "Emma, manners," Sarah said gently, but she was smiling. "It's true, though," Emma said, returning to her coloring book. Sarah handed Marcus the towel. "Dry off. I'll make you something to eat." "You really don't..." Stop saying that, sit. Marcus sat at the kitchen table. Emma slid one of her crayons toward him without looking up. A small gesture of inclusion that hit him harder than it should have. He watched Sarah move around the tiny kitchen. She opened the refrigerator, and even from where he sat, Marcus could see it was nearly empty. Some eggs, bread, a little bit of milk, condiments, not much else. She didn't hesitate. She cracked 3 eggs into a pan, added butter, scrambled them with practiced efficiency. She toasted bread that was getting stale but not quite there yet. Put it all on a plate and set it in front of him. Thank you, Marcus said. His voice came out rougher than intended. It's not much, but it was, to someone with nothing, it was everything. Marcus ate slowly, watching Sarah sit down across from him with a glass of water. Just water. He noticed she wasn't eating. Have you eaten? He asked. I'm not hungry. It was a lie. He'd told enough of them to recognize one instantly. Emma finished her coloring and brought the paper to her mother. Look, Mama, I made this for you. Sarah's face transformed. The exhaustion fell away for just a moment. It's beautiful, baby. Is that us? Yeah, and that's our new house. The one with the big backyard you said we'll have someday. Something flickered across Sarah's face. Pain quickly masked. Someday, sweetheart, someday. Emma seemed satisfied and ran off to her room. The silence that followed felt heavy. She's wonderful, Marcus said. She is, Sarah's voice was soft. She's everything. How long have you been on your own? Sarah looked at him, measuring whether to answer. 2 years. Her father. He left when things got hard. Lost his job and decided a family was too much responsibility. She laughed. But there was no humor in it. Funny thing about hard times. Shows you who people really are. Marcus thought about his assistant's words. About his own divorce years ago, when his wife had said he was married to his work, not to her. He'd thought she was being dramatic. Now he wondered. I work 2 jobs, Sarah continued. Day shift at a nursing home, night shift cleaning offices. Emma stays with my neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, when I'm at the night job. It's not ideal, but we manage. That must be exhausting. You do what you have to do. She looked toward the hallway where Emma had disappeared. She deserves better than this. Better than me working all the time. Better than never having new clothes or toys. Better than... She trailed off. Better than helping strange men in the rain? Marcus offered gently. Sarah met his eyes. My mama used to say that we're only as rich as the kindness we can afford to give. By that measure, I've got to be wealthy, don't I? Marcus felt something crack in his chest. They talked for another hour. Sarah asked where he was staying. Marcus said nowhere. She offered the couch without hesitation and, despite his protests, insisted. It's still raining, and it's getting cold. I'm not sending you back out there. That night, lying on a couch that was too short and lumpy, Marcus stared at the ceiling. Down the hall, he could hear Sarah reading to Emma, a bedtime story about a princess who didn't need rescuing because she was brave all on her own. He thought about his own childhood. Immigrant parents who'd worked themselves to exhaustion to give him opportunities. When had he forgotten that? When had he started believing his success was his alone? Morning came with the smell of coffee. Sarah was already dressed for work, moving quietly around the kitchen. I made extra, she said, pouring him a cup. It's not great coffee, but it's hot. They sat at the table again. Emma emerged, rubbing sleep from her eyes, and climbed into her mother's lap without a word. I have to get to work, Sarah said. You're welcome to stay until the rain stops. Just pull the door closed when you leave. She trusted him. This woman who had every reason to be suspicious, who had so little and could afford to lose even less, trusted a complete stranger in her home. Sarah, Marcus said. Why did you help me? She considered the question while braiding Emma's hair. I've been where you are. Maybe not exactly, but close enough. After Emma's father left, we were evicted. Spent 3 weeks in my car. A woman I barely knew. Someone I'd met at the laundromat. Let us stay with her until I could get back on my feet. She didn't have much either, but she shared what she had. Sarah finished the braid and kissed the top of Emma's head. I figure that kindness is meant to be passed on, not hoarded. After they left, Marcus sat in the quiet house. He pulled out a phone number he'd memorized, called from Sarah's landline, and spoke to his assistant. I need you to find out everything about Sarah Mitchell. Not for anything bad. I need to know what she needs. 3 days later, Sarah came home from her day shift to find an envelope taped to her door. Inside was a letter and a check. The letter was simple. Dear Sarah, you fed a stranger when you had barely enough for yourself. You offered shelter when you had little space to spare. You gave dignity to someone the world had made invisible. I wasn't really homeless. I was testing something, testing people, testing the world. I failed my own test, but you passed with a grace I didn't know still existed. My name is Marcus Chen. I own Chen Technologies. What I'm about to tell you isn't pity, it's recognition. You worked 2 jobs to give your daughter a life you dream about. Let me help make that dream a little closer. The check will cover a year's rent on a better place. A safe neighborhood with good schools. I've also set up a trust for Emma's education. And if you're willing, there's a position at my company's community outreach program. Better hours, better pay, benefits. You'd be helping people like me understand what you understand inherently. You don't have to accept any of this. But I hope you will. Thank you for reminding me what it means to be human. Marcus. The check was for $50,000. Sarah had to sit down on her front steps. Her hands shook as she read the letter again. And again. Emma came out and climbed into her lap. What's wrong, Mama? Why are you crying? Nothing's wrong, baby. Sarah held her daughter close. Nothing's wrong at all. 2 weeks later, Sarah stood in the lobby of Chen Technologies. The building was all glass and steel and money. She felt out of place in her best dress, which was still just a department store clearance find. Marcus Chen came down personally to meet her. In person, in his element. He looked different, powerful, important. But when their eyes met, she saw the same man who'd sat at her kitchen table, shivering and grateful for scrambled eggs. Thank you for coming, he said. I almost didn't. Why did you? Sarah looked around at the lobby, at the people rushing past in expensive clothes, at the world she'd never imagined entering. Because Emma's watching, and I want her to learn that kindness creates opportunities, that helping people isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing we can do. Marcus smiled. A real smile, not the practiced one he used in board meetings. Will you accept the position? On one condition. Name it. I don't want special treatment. I'll work hard, same as anyone else. This isn't charity. No, Marcus agreed. It's not charity. It's recognizing value that others overlook. That's not charity. That's good business. Sarah started the following Monday. Her job was to help develop programs that gave real assistance to struggling families. She knew the system from the inside, knew what helped and what was just bureaucratic nonsense. Within 6 months, she'd restructured the entire community program to actually serve communities. Marcus learned as much from her as anyone else in the building. He learned that dignity costs nothing but means everything, that a person's worth isn't measured by their bank account, that the woman cleaning the offices at night might have more wisdom than the executives in corner offices. He started a program where executives spent 1 week, a year working minimum wage jobs, not as a gimmick but to truly understand. Half his board thought he'd lost his mind. The other half grew as people. Emma thrived in her new school. Sarah moved into a small house with an actual backyard. Not big, but Emma didn't care. She'd planted flowers along the fence and called it her garden. On the 1-year anniversary of that rainy night, Marcus invited Sarah to his office. I wanted to thank you, he said. For what? You're the one who changed our lives. No, you changed mine first. He gestured at the city below. I used to stand here and see numbers, profits and losses, investments. Now I see people, families, stories. You taught me that. Sarah joined him at the window. You know what's funny? I thought you were testing me that night, seeing if I'd be kind to someone who had nothing. I was. But really I was testing you too, seeing if you'd accept kindness from someone you'd normally never notice. And she looked at him. You passed? Marcus had learned something crucial in that small house on that rainy night. Wealth isn't what you have. It's what you're willing to give when it costs you something. Real generosity isn't writing a check that doesn't change your bank balance. It's sharing your last 3 eggs. It's offering your couch when you barely have space for yourself. It's seeing a stranger in the rain and choosing to see a human being instead. Years later, Emma would attend college on that trust Marcus had set up. She'd major in social work, inspired by her mother's story. She'd say that kindness was the family business, and she was just continuing the tradition. Sarah still worked at Chen Technologies, running a program that had helped thousands of families. She never forgot where she came from, and she never stopped reminding Marcus that the best investment he'd ever made was the one in human dignity. As for Marcus, he kept a photo on his desk, not of himself with presidents or celebrities, a photo Emma had drawn that rainy night. 2 stick figures at a table, one big, one small, and a simple caption in a child's handwriting, "Mama helps people." Because in the end, that's what matters, not the size of your house or the balance in your bank account, but whether you saw someone in need and chose kindness over convenience. Whether you shared your light when the world was dark, whether you remembered that we're all human, all struggling, all hoping for someone to see us. Sarah saw Marcus when he was invisible, and Marcus learned to see everyone else. That's the trade that changed everything. What would you do? If you saw someone in the rain, desperate and alone, would you close your door or open it? Leave a comment below. And remember, kindness is never wasted. It always comes back. Sometimes in ways you never expect.